Now I want you to turn to Ruth, the little book of Ruth, and I'm going to do something that will kind of follow through with family blessing. Ruth. And I want you to number your paper 1 through 7. Now I want to look at how a family began to get blessed, tremendously blessed. And so I want you to see the power of blessings that came on a home that could have been very cursed. Now Ruth is a Moabitess, and they are cursed because they started in incest, and Deuteronomy 27 says sexual sins bring a curse. Idolatry brings a curse, and the Moabites worshipped an idol called Chemosh, which means a dunghill deity. Now, that curse is reversed when Ruth comes to God, and she says to Naomi, I want your God to be my God. So she's dropped her idolatry, the curse is broken, and the blessings of God are really upon her. Now she is about to marry a man, and he is going to take her to be his, and it's going to take him 6 steps, basically, 7 steps, to make her his wife. And so all of these are important. I want you to see all of them. So look at Ruth 4:2. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here, and they sat down. Now the first thing in her getting this husband as her kinsman redeemer is that he has to get witnesses to confirm every transaction between all parties involved as possible redeemers. Now this Boaz is going to marry her, but the children that they have will bear the name of her dead husband. So, that's quite a thing for a man to do. Who would want to marry a woman and your own blood children carry the name of that woman's dead husband? That'd be unusual. And you had to be a relative to do it, and you had to have enough money to buy the land that would belong to her husband. So the first thing, he's getting the witnesses together. Then number 2, and this is Ruth 4, and it's verses 4 through 6. And I thought to advertise these, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me that I may know, for there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, you must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now the second thing, you had to agree on which one was going to be the redeemer, because you had more than one relative. So if you had 5 relatives that could marry Ruth, you would have to go to all 5, and you'd say to them, now, this land can come to you if you have the money to buy it, because the man is dead that owned it, and you're in the same tribe. But remember, you have to marry Ruth. Now, who wants to marry Ruth? Well, who's going to do it? Some men are going to say, no way. My wife would never let me bring a second woman home. No way. And so you have to pick out which one it is. So the one who was the nearest said, no, I can't do it, mar my own inheritance. Now, number 3 is real unusual. They took off the shoe of the one who gives his right of redemption to another as a witness that he gives up such rights. So look at Ruth 4, 7 and 8. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things. A man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. And you read about this in Deuteronomy. And it said if a man was to redeem the land of his dead brother, buy it back, and take his wife and raise up a child by his brother's wife, then, he had to come up with the money, prove he was a relative. But if he didn't want to do it, and said, yeah, I'm the relative, and I have the money, but I don't want to do it, then he took his shoe off, and they called that man the man of the loose shoe. Now, I thought, what on earth would that mean? Because that happens here. That means my foot will never walk on that property. Whatever you tread on is yours. I will never tread on that as mine. I have loosed my shoe that I will not walk on it. It will belong to someone else. Okay, got the loose shoe? Okay, number 4. The redemption of the inheritance itself. Look at 4:9. And Boaz said unto the elders and to all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Marilyn, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day. So he said, I am redeeming it. So we have the actual redemption itself. Then the next thing is the marriage between the Redeemer, and that was 4:10. I'm taking her, I've purchased her to be my wife. And he says, and I will raise up, I promise I'll raise up seed to his name. And then the sixth thing was the confession of the witnesses to the transaction, and that's verses 4:11. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house, oh, and this is so wonderful, like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. And this is verses 11 too, because not only are the witnesses confessing to the transaction, but now number 7, they're blessing the married couple. Okay, now, that's what I was getting to. 7 points, and the 7th one is the blessing. Now these witnesses come, they watch the whole transaction, they're involved in every piece of it, but the last thing they are to do is they are to bless this household. They are to bless this marriage. So it was a spiritual thing. They were not only seeing that a man bought some land that belonged to a dead relative. They were not only seeing a man take a wife and promise that he would raise up seed to the dead relative's name, but they were blessing that home. Now I want you to watch what happened with the blessings they spoke, because we don't even know the names of these people. Verse 11, they said, the Lord make this woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel. Now wait a minute. Rachel and Leah bore the children that were the 12 sons, that were the 12 tribes of Israel. And it would be out of their household that would come the Messiah. Now how can she be blessed like that? She's a Moabitess. You know, she's not in that lineage. But they said, bless her like that, so that her lineage will be like Rachel and Leah. And where did she live? She lived in Bethlehem, because that's where Naomi lived, and that's where Boaz lives. Let your house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. Now wait a minute. The house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare. This blessing is really something. Because if you look at Tamar, I think we better look at it so I don't tell it wrong. Turn to Genesis 38. Okay, I think I'll start at the beginning of it just real quickly. We have enough time. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulamite whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went unto her, and she conceived and bare a son. He called his name And she conceived again, bare a son. She called his name Onan. And she yet conceived again and bare a son, called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. Okay, that's the Tamar that it's talking about there. Alright, and Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. Now that's what you're seeing in Ruth. Now what he's supposed to do is go in and have a child by her, but the child will not have his name. The child will have his dead brother's name. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass when he went unto his brother's wife that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. Okay? And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. So she still doesn't have a child. Then said Judah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. See how this was passed down? It said, for he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did, and Tamar went and dwelt in his father's house. And in the process of time the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died, and Judah was comforted, and went unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, covered her with a veil, wrapped herself, sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath, for she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what will you give me that you may come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. She said, will you give me a pledge till you send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? She said, thy signet and thy bracelet and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of that